Good morning from Patty's Garage. I've got a few preparatory projects to do this morning. This is, let me step back, let me widen it up there a little bit. Some of my earlier videos described working on the, let me get this out of the way. Taking a conventional Workmate, Black & Decker Workmate, and adding some, there's a bracketry around the exterior of the base, and that provides some rollability, maneuverability of the engine stand. Then by raising and lowering these little orange levers on the feet there, you can either allow it to roll or you can lock it down so that it's stable on the ground. And then also on the interior of the Workmate, I added a a blanking plate, a piece of plywood down there to add some additional storage, possibly a battery or what have you down at the base of the Workmate. And then added a 3/4 inch, I believe it is, plywood top on top of the Workmate to give me a little bit extra room in terms of putting the engine in and putting some bracketry for the radiator. So I have got some of the exterior portions, exterior accessories, carburetor, manifold, that sort of thing. Did that yesterday, and I'm going to begin to add some of the generator starter, those sorts of things over on this side. Of course, fan blades and what have you. I'm using a, using a radiator out of my Mini Cooper, which I think this hose is from the Austin Healey Sprite. But because the Sprite radiator is significantly larger, I'm using the mini hose over on this side so that it mates up well with the radiator and still gives us our heat line coming over to here. So what you may have noticed is that I'm adding a couple of support pieces. Let me kind of come around over here. These are turnbuckles, and I'm using the existing motor mount bracketry in the front, and then just one of the transmission bolt holes in the rear down to an eye hook. And I am basically locating those equally spaced on either side of the front of the motor, and then that gives me the ability to tighten these down as necessary. I don't want to tighten them down too much now, because basically what that will do is tip the engine forward if I keep doing that. So I want to kind of keep everything nice and level. So I've got one turnbuckle, smaller one back here, but I'm missing one on the other side. So, typical project here. That's another trip to Lowe's or Menards or one of the box stores. Get another turnbuckle and a couple of eye hooks, and then that will get the engine stabilized, and I can start getting a little more meaty with ratcheting things down and so forth. So that's where I stand right at the moment. I'm going to, right now the radiator is just very loosely in there. I was trying to find the right height to locate this radiator. I think this is traditionally, I think the radiator is normally a little bit higher than the thermostat, and then down here, that's just the natural flow of the bottom radiator hose over there. So that's where we stand right now. I'm going to maybe reposition that light and kind of quickly walk through top dead center on over here on the damper, top dead center compression up on the number one intake and exhaust, and then how we locate the drive gear for the distributor. So just going to quickly march through what we need to do in terms of getting the distributor located, distributor drive located. Number one, we know that we've got a good pointer on top dead center, so we're at 0, so we know that we're on top dead center. Then it is also critical that we're on the compression stroke, and at that point, both of these valves would be fully closed, or the rockers would be fully up on this side, and so we can these have already been adjusted, and we've got clearance on both of these. We're at I don't know if that'll, where's my mark there? Not that it's all that important, but we're at 14. So both of these lifters are movable, which means that the valves are totally sealed. We're at top dead center down on the damper. So we are, number one, top dead center. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to be sure that our drive gear is pointed towards that number one spark plug cylinder. And it is, right now you can see that it's clocked properly. And this is, it's an easy process, but it's easy to, if you don't have some way of pulling on that drive gear for the distributor, it can drop down into past the camshaft, which is the drive mechanism, and then down into the oil pan. So what we do is simply put a bolt into the end of the drive gear here, where the two alignment notches are, and this has all been pre-lubed, ready to go down into the drive gear, and then insert that back into the hole. Okay, get in there. It never does that. Okay, and the tendency of this is to naturally rotate. I'm going to get that started. I've repositioned myself so I get a little bit better angle on this. Once again, number one, we're at the front of the engine to the right. Number one cylinder over here. And we have got our distributor. This is where the distributor will go. And we've got our drive gear into the hole. And it's got a gear that is just now starting to contact the drive gear on the camshaft. And what I wanted to just demonstrate or kind of illustrate is you can see the lines going across that the top of the I'll call it drive shaft for the distributor. And you think of it as a clock face. It's almost at 3 o'clock right now, and it's got the bolt. If this is it's really a simple process. It's nothing to be scared about. But as long as you're using some sort of a bolt, I think you can use a head bolt. If you've got one like a rebuilding engine, you got an extra head bolt. I think you can use that, or you can use just a standard bolt. I forget the thread, but you definitely want to do that. Otherwise, it makes it awkward to try and get that gear in everything aligned and properly in there. So what we want to watch is as I push this distributor drive shaft home, you'll notice that the lines start to go counterclockwise because there's a little bit of a spiral on the gears going into the camshaft. So let me see if I can see if that'll actually, so as I get a little bit more light on the subject, as they say. It's just deep down in the hole there. But as I start to put this in the hole, you'll see that, let me come up a bit maybe. I think that's maybe a little better. As I start to push this in, you'll see that the line starts to move upwards to the point that it's no longer at 3 o'clock, it's more at 2 o'clock. And what happens is that line is now angled up towards the number one spark plug. There, I think you can see there. And once we do that, remembering that we are at top dead center, compression stroke, and the cog is pointed up towards number one, and that corresponds to the rotor in your distributor. That's kind of the key part here, that we want the rotor, once the distributor is mounted, we want that rotor mounted such that the rotor is pointing to the number one spark plug, and then we know that everything is set to be static timed once we get all the pieces back on the motor.